Former prison guards, inmates, and even deputy wardens from the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in New York City have confirmed that Diddy is refusing to leave his special housing unit. Allegedly, he fears that inmates are targeting him.
So this jail's conditions, have been described as dirty, notorious for mice, maggots, inmate violence, power outages. You spent 10 years in 11 different facilities, so you know what life is like for him right now. Take us behind the scenes.
I was also at MDC Los Angeles. It's like a cookie cutter of the MDC in New York. So yeah, I do know. But he's sitting in the shoe. He's in the hole. And this guy is going through loneliness, anxiety, desperation. He's on suicide watch. And they hand out like psych meds, like they're M&Ms to these inmates to try to get them to cope with what's going on. So his entire existence is to sit in this little cell, essentially. He can shower 3 times a week. He's not getting any real visits. If his lawyer does a legal visit, they have to come upstairs into the special housing unit to see him. Now, have you seen these reports about all these commissary items they say that he could buy? Any of those?
What was one of them? Steak or something?
Ribeye, steak,
yeah.
All kinds of nonsense. He's in the shoe, people. He's in a special housing unit. He cannot buy things off the regular commissary list.
Diddy reportedly believes that if he enters the general population, he will be attacked. Former warden Cameron Lindsay agrees, stating that some inmates might seek street credibility by targeting Diddy. Many of these inmates are serving life sentences and wouldn't hesitate to commit additional crimes.
They're going to put some bars of soap in a sock and boom, they're going to pop him over the head and split his head open like a watermelon. They cannot GP him at all. There's a better chance of Jesus appearing in front of us right now than him making general population. He's safe where he is at. There's no reason to move him. And this nonsense about him getting bail, they're never going to give him bail. He wants to go to Essex County, New Jersey, to go to a cushy jail there. Remember, he's not a federal inmate. He's a U.S. Marshal detainee. So they just house him at MDC. And in order to send him to Jersey, they would have to transport him back and forth several times a week with like 6 marshals. They put him in one car and there'd be a car behind him and a car in front of him. They're not going to do that. So his life essentially at this point is just screwed.
It is not getting good reviews. Not that it should, but there should be basic human rights. And this place has faced intense scrutiny amid a spat of vicious inmates, going after each other badly, complaints about dismal living conditions, including maggot-infested food, filthy cells, power outages. Apparently they go weeks without any sort of heat, which is, not good, especially as the cold rears its head. These apparent conditions were brought to the spotlight during the trial of Maxwell, I can't say the full thing, the notorious Madame of Jeffy, when her attorney ripped the facility for the reprehensible and utterly inappropriate facilities. She complained about using the bathroom, which was an open sewer drain, rats running around, rotten maggot-infested food, freezing temperatures for roughly a week when an electrical fire caused all the light and heatings to go out in the building. Apparently, violence-plagued federal lockup made headlines when it was hit with the claims that the staff had allegedly covered up a knifing at one point.
MDC has a reputation for poor management. Some wardens have even been found guilty of covering up violent incidents. Inmates receive maggot-infested food, and heating is often neglected. In February 2019, hundreds of inmates were left freezing without blankets, and several died before authorities intervened. The prison has been described as dreadful by judges, with some opting not to send nonviolent offenders there. In April, a group of detainees, allegedly MS-13 gang members, stabbed an inmate 44 times, an attack caught on camera. In the past 3 years, 4 inmates have died by suicide. Other issues include medical neglect, staff shortages, and drug smuggling, some facilitated by employees. At least 6 staff members have been charged with crimes over the last 5 years, including bribery and contraband distribution.
But the conditions of the prison are far from homey, notoriously described as, quote, dreadful, as one judge put it. Some on the bench have even moved away from sending nonviolent defendants there. In April, a group of detainees that prosecutors said were MS-13 gang members in court documents stabbed an inmate 44 times in an attack caught on camera. 2 shivs were recovered from the attack. You see them here. The victim survived. And in the last 3 years alone, 4 inmates have died by suicide. And violence is not the only issue. Accusations of medical neglect, staffing shortages, smuggling of drugs, some allegedly facilitated by employees. At least 6 staff members charged with crimes in the last 5 years, according to the AP. Some accused of accepting bribes and providing contraband.
You know, no jail or prison is expected to be a 5-star hotel, we know that, but it's not supposed to be a house of horrors either.
Yeah, the troubled and violent Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn housing Sean Diddy Combs raided by the feds today. They're investigating poor conditions, rampant drug smuggling, mounting violence, and repeated inmate deaths. Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles live at the scene in Sunset Park with what's really going on. Darla.
Well, Bill, the Bureau of Prisons will only say this is an interagency operation to maintain a safe environment, but sources tell ABC News that inmates are not the target, and attorneys who've been seeing clients here for years say the timing is very curious.
Rumors suggest Diddy's recent hospital visit was due to an injury. Some speculate he faked it to stay in the special housing unit. MDC is known for its violence, with viral videos showing inmates being attacked. In this prison, violent criminals and white-collar offenders are housed together, and sex offenders are often targeted.
It unfolded in about 15 seconds. MDC surveillance video shows Isaiah Garcia approach Christopher Byers on the top level of their jail pod with a hand inside his uniform. Garcia uses that same hand to stab Byers more than 20 times with a broken off top of a mop or broom handle he reportedly sharpened to use as a shank. Another camera angle shows one officer respond within seconds. According to the criminal complaint, she hits Garcia with pepper spray. She reportedly follows him to his cell to handcuff him as he was trying to flush the shank. Meanwhile, a handful of officers escort Byers out of the pod as he is clearly bleeding from the neck onto the stairs and the floor. Other camera angles show many more officers tend to Byers in the hallway before he's sent to the hospital.
Officer Downing was the supervisor inside an MDC pod in November when 2 inmates asked the guard to open a cell door to give another inmate some soup. After letting them in, Downing left his post to go check out what he thought was a fight inside that cell.
When he arrived at the cell, another inmate attacked him.
MDC says Jose Estrada threw that first punch, then tried to yank the officer's radio from his hip to keep him from calling for help.
Several inmates came from behind him to also attack him.
The corrections officer then had to run the gauntlet to get through that group of inmates, all of whom were throwing punches.
They wanted to assault an officer that day.
Officer Downing managed to escape with just some minor injuries, including some bruising to his face.
Diddy's hospital visit raises questions. He was removed from MDC in the middle of the night, had fewer U.S. Marshals escorting him than usual, and underwent a seemingly minor procedure. Shortly after, a case against Diddy and Jay-Z was dropped because the victim allegedly changed her mind.
Why does he get the cover of darkness? Why does he get taken out because he needs an aspirin? Help me, Dr. Hendricks.
Well, I'll tell you, each inmate gets a physical within 14 days of their arrival at any facility. And I'm sure, based on reports of him having several knee surgeries throughout the years after being a marathoner back in 2003. So this may have been in the works in terms of getting him out for an MRI, because I know that they don't have that equipment at the institution. And I'll just tell you this, they probably had set this appointment up months, maybe weeks ago, and they set it up for the evening.
To leave at 1 a.m. in the cover of darkness? Okay, you think that's what they set up, Hendricks. Look, I know you're being loyal to MDC, but can we get real? Leaving MDC because your knee hurts? Have you seen that POC?
MRIs and x-rays and things of that nature, they're on a normal work schedule, between, the normal business hours of maybe 10 o'clock and maybe 6 p.m. So in that case, this was a little bit different getting him outside the facility in the late evening hours to do just, possibly a basic MRI.
Yeah, I was thinking about the timeline too, because I don't ever recall going to the doctor at 10 p.m. at night. As you said, it's usually 9 to 5, 10 to 6 kind of vibes. But for P. Diddy, I can kind of understand why it was at 10 p.m. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking they decided to do this because he's such a high profile name that they wouldn't want to draw attention to it. I mean, this is an unassuming Thursday night around 10 p.m. Could that be why they decided then to go to the hospital?
Yes, and also, for a couple of reasons, staff, many correctional agencies are short-staffed, so if you're taking someone out with this high-profile person such as P. Diddy, just the nature of who he is going to cause a serious security concern, because you're going to need to be able to stave off, onlookers, fans, media, and the like. And then you also got to think about the security of the hospital and their operations. People are there to try to get better. You have families there to visit their loved ones. And the last thing you need is somewhat, a chaotic environment that's causing concern with security.
Did Diddy threaten the victim while outside? He has already been caught trying to contact witnesses through prison payphones, with his family helping to intimidate them, leading to his bail denial.
New details this morning in the second case against Sean Diddy Combs. Prosecutors now claiming that from behind bars, Combs has been trying to reach out to victims and possible witnesses. And ABC's Phil Lipoff is here now with this story. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Gio. Diddy's lawyers trying for a third time to get him out on bail, but this time, the prosecution telling the judge about attempts they say the rap mogul made from behind bars to influence everyone from potential jury to alleged victims.
Who's the boss? Dudes is lost. Don't think cause I'm iced out, I'ma cool off.
This morning, prosecutors leveling new accusations against Sean Diddy Combs, saying he poses a serious risk of danger even from behind bars as he awaits trial. In a court filing late Friday, prosecutors detailing the steps they say Combs is taking while locked up to reach out to prospective witnesses and influence public opinion to affect potential jurors.
The accusations within the prosecution's motion to deny bail are very serious and will be considered very heavily by the judge, because the judge is going to want to ensure that he is not influencing witnesses and or contacting anyone to influence a trial in any way.
Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges of racketeering, transportation to engage in prostitution, and sex trafficking. He denies any wrongdoing. The government now asking a judge not to grant Combs' third request for bail, in which the music mogul offers a $50 million bail package, citing new evidence and changed circumstances.
Then last Friday evening, Tony Busby filed to dismiss this lawsuit with prejudice. Dismissing a lawsuit with prejudice means it will not, and more importantly, it means it cannot be refiled. Jay-Z said in a statement, "Today is a victory. The frivolous, fictitious, and appalling allegations have been dismissed. This civil suit was without merit and never going anywhere. The fictional tale they created was laughable, if not for the seriousness of the claims. I would not wish this experience on anyone. The trauma that my wife, my children, loved ones, and I have endured can never be dismissed. This 1-800 lawyer gets to file a suit hiding behind Jane Doe, and when they quickly realize that the money grab is going to fail, they get to walk away with no repercussions. The system has failed." Sean Combs also had something to say about Busby dismissing the suit. Today's complete dismissal without a settlement by the 1-800 attorney is yet another confirmation that these lawsuits are built on falsehoods, not facts. For months, we have seen case after case filed by individuals hiding behind anonymity, pushed forward by an attorney more focused on media headlines than legal merit. Just like this claim, the others will fall apart because there is no truth to them.
Even though a case was dismissed, evidence, including video footage and voice memos, showed Jay-Z's legal team allegedly harassing victims. Lawyers reportedly showed up at victims' homes, pretending to be federal agents, flashing fake FBI badges, and offering bribes of up to $10,000 to change their testimony.
But now in a new lawsuit, a Texas man is claiming Jay-Z's lawyers are bribing people to sue Busby and his law firm. This 13-page lawsuit was filed on January 3rd in Harris County, Texas, and the plaintiff in the filing is being represented by none other than Busby's law firm, who filed the suit on his behalf. Now, Jose Maldonado, who is the plaintiff in this suit, is suing Jay-Z's attorneys and his company, Rock Nation, but not Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z himself. According to the lawsuit, the defendants in this suit are Marcy Bryant Croft, her law firm MJ Legal, Rock Nation, and the law firm who is representing Jay-Z, Quinn Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan. They allege the defendants conspired to obstruct justice by engaging in shadowy operatives to illegally get more than 24 current and former clients of Busby law firm to turn around and sue them. The suit claims Rock Nation is financing this alleged effort, while attorneys Marcy Croft and the law firm Quinn Emanuel are orchestrating this whole thing. According to the suit, the defendants' agents were pretending to work for the state of Texas and allegedly flashed fake badges.
This can really go one of two ways. This might be an isolated one-off case that he has to defend, or potentially it could be a Me Too type situation where other victims come forward. Obviously, we saw that with Diddy and Cassie Ventura. So the coming days and weeks are really going to be telling. And Tony Busby says he has more than 100, maybe up to 300 victims he's representing. So it's going to be interesting to see if any of them also name Jay-Z.
And Nima, if such a high-profile name like Jay-Z has come out, could more celebrity names be tied to these lawsuits? What do you think we can expect?
No question. This may just be the first celebrity domino, and Jay-Z was unmasked as celebrity A, but let's not forget there's a celebrity B in that same lawsuit that allegedly witnessed the sexual assault, the female celebrity. And there was someone who went on CNN earlier this week and said that his sexual assault was witnessed by another celebrity as well. So I think we're going to see more celebrity names identified very soon.
All right, Nima Rani, thank you so much for joining us. As you said, this is one that has entered the court of public opinion. It's nice to have your actual legal advice on this one.
While one lawsuit was dismissed, several more have been filed. One includes details of a sex trafficker Diddy allegedly used to procure young girls. Shockingly, Lil Rod's lawsuit mentions the same trafficker, claiming that Diddy's son was involved in arranging these encounters.
Right off the top, Busby is making sure, again, he's representing her, making sure that the court knows just how horrific these allegations are, because it reads, quote, defendant Sean Combs paid a number of sex traffickers to provide underage girls, including plaintiff, to be used for the sexual gratification of himself and his friends at a party in Miami. Defendant Combs' arranging of these girls for sex led to plaintiff suffering approximately 20 separate instances of sexual assault at the party. This case seeks compensatory and punitive damages on behalf of this young victim of sex trafficking. Compensatory damages are those that can restore a plaintiff try to do so. Punitive damages are a way to punish the defendant or defendants for really bad, egregious behavior. Now, it's interesting that an alleged sex trafficking victim is coming forward, as Combs faces himself federal sex trafficking allegations, criminal charges for allegedly forcing people to participate in sex acts with commercial sex workers for his own gratification.
Diddy is now claiming that the allegations against him are racially motivated, arguing that he is being targeted because he is a successful black man. His lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, has filed to dismiss the prostitution charges, calling them discriminatory. However, one alleged victim, a minor, claims she was trafficked to one of Diddy's infamous freak-off parties, where she was raped. She also accuses Diddy of having an intimate relationship with a 12-year-old Mexican girl, whom she never saw again.
In or around 2020, when Doe was 15 years old, her trafficker, known to Doe only by the nickname he used around herself and the other girls, took Doe and one or more other girls to Miami, Florida. In Miami, plaintiff was taken to a large building similar to a warehouse. The host, whom Doe eventually learned was defendant Combs, was hosting a large party in the building. It quickly became apparent that the purpose of the party was sex. Defendant Combs had arranged and paid for Doe and other girls being trafficked through numerous pimps to be brought to the party. At the party, Combs made them available for sex. Doe recalls that Combs made an announcement to his guests and then made a toast to start the party. Doe, who had been given drugs for this event to keep her controlled and somewhat sedated, was taken to a curtained-off area with red and dark blue or black lights containing a bed in the middle. Over the next several hours, Doe was forced to have sex with approximately 20 different men, all guests of Combs, one after another. The curtained area in which Doe was confined was next to another curtained-off area with another bed, which Doe could see through the curtains. Doe saw Combs having sex with a Latina girl whom Doe estimated to be 12 or 13 years old and who had been in the same traffic group as Doe for no more than a few weeks. Doe could not see where that girl was taken after Combs was finished with her.
Another lawsuit has also been filed against Diddy, and it follows the same pattern of abuse that Diddy has clearly displayed in the last year. An Indian model came to tryouts where Diddy asked him to strip for him. When the model disagreed, Diddy got angry and groped him. Court documents show that Diddy actually wanted to sexually assault the man, but he escaped.
The complaint claims Combs shifted the discussion to Doe's appearance. He instructed him to stand up so he could check him out. Moments later, Combs told Doe to undress and take off all of his clothes. Doe immediately felt uncomfortable and refused. Combs persisted, asking what he was willing to do to be in a music video and to be successful. Now, this man claims in the complaint that Sean Combs kept insisting that he take off his clothes. Then he claims Combs then noticeably became angry and aggressive. He stood up and moved close to Doe, standing right in front of his face. Without warning, Combs aggressively grabbed and firmly groped Doe's buttocks and whispered in his ear, saying, "Get me when you change your mind." Doe pulled away and left the room immediately. Security walked Doe out of the building. He left deeply disturbed by the experience. To talk about all of this, I want to bring in Bradford Cohen. He is a celebrity criminal defense attorney. He has represented a lot of people in a lot of things. So Bradford, first of all, your thoughts on this 2006 case. We have a guy who says he was a model going to a modeling gig and that Sean Combs grabbed his buttocks, and he's filing a lawsuit. He wants to sue over this almost 20 years later. So this is kind of one of the more benign claims we've heard. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. So if you've ever had an interaction with Sean Combs whatsoever, I think everyone is trying to file a lawsuit. I don't see it going very far that after 20 years, this guy came forward that allegedly, Sean Combs grabbed his buttocks. I don't think that's going to be one of the cases that's going to make or break Sean Combs, even if the allegations were true.
Another lawsuit details an alleged sexual assault involving an Indian male model. The model claimed Diddy asked him to strip during a tryout. When he refused, Diddy reportedly became aggressive and groped him. Court documents suggest that Diddy intended to assault the man, but he managed to escape.
Let's get all these ladies at a party. For years, P. Diddy's gotten a hall pass. He's actually created his own kingdom where he makes his own rules, and you got to follow his rules or you get penalized. And guess what, Laura? He's now in a federal penitentiary, and for the first time in his life, he's facing his own fate at the hands of somebody else. And I will tell you, Laura, I've done federal cases, that's not the place you want to be in federal court. 90% of federal criminal indictments brought down are pled out, right? A plea deal is brought. And of the only 10% left, 90% of those defendants that go to trial, they lose. So he is looking at a daunting uphill battle to fight these horrible charges.
Now, Brian, one of the DHS agents involved in this raid on his Miami mansion described what he saw inside the house, saying that, in my opinion, he's as bad as Epstein. These women are young, either barely legal or barely illegal. Brian, this sounds like he was a monster.
Yeah, Laura, I will tell you that this indictment was very detailed, by the way, too. Your viewers should know there were over 300 subpoenas served, over 50 witnesses interviewed. Why is that important? Because the federal prosecutors aren't going to be leveling an indictment like this unless they have ammunition and they have cause to bring it.
According to a report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, he eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it. This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's suicide watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protected unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this meltdown over the holidays, at least according to one source. Another source, though, disagrees with all of this. They say Diddy is staying strong in jail despite missing his family a great deal at Christmas, which is a time he often spends with his children. But however Diddy spent the holidays, there are still a lot of questions in the case of Sean Combs.
Prosecutors argue that Diddy will never be released, as police reportedly found disturbing evidence at his Miami mansion. Officers who participated in the raid claim they uncovered firearms, drugs, and electronic proof linking Diddy to sex trafficking and serial sexual assault, making him, in their words, worse than Jeffrey Epstein. The most shocking part? Diddy later offered the same mansion as collateral for his bail.
So we made a bail appeal to Judge Carter. It did not go our way. The fight continues. We're not giving up by a long shot. I told Mr. Combs I'm going to try and get his case to trial as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and minimize the amount of time he spends in very, very difficult and I believe inhumane housing conditions in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Detention Facility. And I'm going to do everything that I can to move his case as quickly as possible. I understand that the government has a great amount of electronic devices that they have to download and provide to me, but everything's on the government's timetable, nothing's on the defendant's timetable, and they're going to have to accommodate me and him and give us a quick trial, and I'm going to be pushing for that. He's ready, he's focused. He has been ready to defend this case since he first found out about this case. Nothing has changed from his perspective. I obviously would much prefer to fight this case with him out of jail, and we are going to try to bring that about through additional legal process. But wherever he is, his resolve is the same. He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent, and we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer.
With mounting allegations, legal troubles, and his apparent fear of prison life, Diddy's downfall appears inevitable. From refusing to leave his cell to new horrifying claims, his story grows darker by the day. Is Diddy truly a victim of a targeted takedown, or is justice finally catching up to him? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.